Hello, my name's John Rodsted and I'm from Safe Ground in Australia. We are the Australian arm of the campaign to stop killer robots, and we're working towards creating a treaty that is effectively going to ban lethal autonomous weapons. Think about what is the good side and the bad side of artificial intelligence and lethal autonomous weapons, and there's a lot of good in artificial intelligence. The steps going forward in the medical field, where you can have computer learning doing incredible diagnostics to give faster and more accurate diagnosis for patients with complicated medical problems, is an extraordinary use of powerful computing. But when you take the same kind of technologies and put them into military applications, into warfare, you end up in a very, very dark space that none of us should ever be going into. So think about what is wrong with lethal autonomous weapons, and the key word to this is the word autonomous. When you create a weapon system that you launch, then it seeks out, targets, decides and executes humans with its own algorithmic decision-making process without any human meaningfully in that loop. That is a step way too far, and it's a step that we should never ever go to. Lethal autonomous weapons will simply create an arms race where big players, the superpowers, medium powers, will all get paranoid and feel that they have to be part of this arms race. They will shovel massive amounts of money into something that will become redundant every few months, will need upgrades, and the fact that it is computer driven, it is susceptible to all sorts of issues. One of those issues would be hackability. Can you imagine a mass drone strike that is then hacked by an opposition and turned back on yourself? 84% of the military cadets at the Australian Military College in Duntroon surveyed said they do not feel comfortable with operating alongside lethal autonomous weapons. And high-end military, both serving and retired, find the concept of using autonomous weapon systems absolutely abhorrent. Now, it doesn't mean autonomy is altogether bad, and there can be pristine moments which could be missile defence shields for Navy and issues such as that could have some practical solutions to them. But getting onto the infantry battlefield, getting into urban combat environments and sending small drones out to hunt and kill people should never happen. The only winners out of this will be manufacturers, the people who sell these systems. In Australia, New Zealand and the Pacific, we live in a great part of the world, but it can only stay a great part of the world if we are prepared to stand up against the madness that autonomous weapon systems would create. Do not have an arms race in this part of the world, and we need leadership both locally, regionally and internationally to drive for a treaty that will functionally restrict and ban lethal autonomous weapons. For legal reasons, what does a failed strike look like? What does it look like when you actually create collateral damage, which is a horrendous word for killing a bunch of civilians? How do you actually hold a machine, a robot, accountable for such actions? Warfare is an abhorrent act. It is the complete failure to have dialogue, to have diplomacy, for it to degenerate into war. It should never be just passed over to a machine, where a machine has the power of life over death of humans. We need a treaty, and there is good work taking place at the moment working towards creating such a treaty, and ideally it would be in something like the United Nations, but unfortunately forums such as the CCW are failing yet again and getting locked up in so much legal speak. They're finding it impossible to create functional language that will deal with the treaty. But we do have great examples of the Landmine Treaty of 1997 and the Cluster Munitions Treaty of 2008, where it was taken out of the UN system and turned into a simple process that creates a functional legal instrument that will bring about a ban on an abhorrent weapon system. This is a path I feel that we need to take, and we need leadership in the area. New Zealand, Australia, we are in unique positions to step up and take leadership roles, be on the right side of history. And let's just turn the idea of a lethal autonomous weapon system into a bad temporary idea that falls in the back pages of a history book for the future. Please think carefully on this, and please think about the massive humanitarian consequences of what lethal autonomous weapon systems, if they are deployed and created, would actually be. Thank you.